Hi, Stephen. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hi Tony, how are you?
Good, thanks. Yeah. How encouraged were you by the performance today? I know you were disappointed that we didn't win the game, but it was a very positive performance, you'd think.
Yeah, you can never be certain. I think on top of particularly the disappointment of losing on Thursday on penalties after such a good an impressive display. But the fact is, I suppose we getting beaten on penalties was tough for the players. I felt, and obviously with a long journey, and they got back at 6 a.m, and that was tough. And obviously losing a lot of players today on the day of the game, and the team changing so much was another a lot for the players to take in, really. And so they showed what they're made of and their character by going out and putting in a very good performance in a game against Wales, who've been riding high at the moment. So it was credit to the players for the way that they responded.
What are you going to do for the Finland game now, though? I mean, because of the positive test, are you concerned about the possibility of COVID being in your camp, in your bubble?
I don't know. Listen, obviously, because the test earlier in the week, as it's been confirmed, was a false positive. So that's the first COVID positive test was recorded late last night. So that was the first. So I think we'll just have to go on and get ourselves ready for Finland on Wednesday.
Will you be making call-ups? Will you have to?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Obviously, we were short players today on the bench, obviously, and then James McLean sending off rules him out of the game against Finland. So we'll be addressing that in the next couple of hours, I think. And obviously we're bound by the fact that we have to have players in by a certain time, because if they have COVID tests, and but to be ready for Finland.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay, Thomas Niblock, BBC, are you there? Thomas, no. Nathan Murphy, Newstalk.
Hi, Stephen. Can you talk us through the last 24 hours, even since the press conference yesterday, as to how it all developed and how late in the day you knew the players weren't going to be available, that the 5 players were going to be available, and how difficult the last 24 hours has been for you and the management team?
Yeah, no doubt it has been difficult, but it all pales into insignificance for the players themselves, really. I think it's obviously to get news that you have it yourself, and then for one of the players to get that, and then for the players to be close contact, which they all feel perfectly healthy. They all feel they could have played today, and the implications of that for them. So that can be difficult for them to deal with their teammates, not knowing the impact of that. But I think so. It was all pretty. It was nearly close to midnight when we probably found out last night, and so it was. Had to change a lot of stuff today, and it was an early match, 2:00 match. So we're leaving the hotel early enough, I think. It all had to be sort of sorted out before breakfast, and thankfully the players' attitude is just brilliant. Really good group. They just they love playing for Ireland, and they showed their professionalism by performing to the level that they did.
You ended up missing 7 players then today as a result of COVID-related issues, and you touched on it yesterday, but when you look back over the last week, do you think there's much else you could have done? Is there going to need to be a good period of reflection about how things were handled within the camp?
No, I think listen, there's a lot of good people at the FAI, and I think a lot of professional people who are very professional, and ultimately, I think we lost 7 players, and James McCarthy obviously lost him today. We lost Dave McGoldrick, and then we lost the 3 players in the original squad. So there was wholesale changes really. We lost 3 centre halves today alone. We lost 2 in the morning, and then we lost Kevin Long after a short period of the game. So, Matt Doherty came in and done brilliantly there, I think so the players really, it just shows us a bit of depth to what we're doing at the moment, and I think I'm not saying the balance of the team was perfect today, but from an attacking point of view, I'm not saying everything was, but we lost a lot of pace, not available. Obviously Callum O'Dowda, Callum Robinson, Aaron Connolly, David McGoldrick, from the other night, Alan Brown, who did well the other night, all missing, and plus other players, Adam White and so forth. So a lot of pace missing from the front line, but everyone who played today acquitted themselves really, really well. I thought overall we could have won the game. It was an evenly balanced game. I know there wasn't a lot of chances in the game. I don't remember Darren having to do too much in terms of making saves. He's a very composed goalkeeper. I think so. We had the better chances, and considering all of the 120 minutes, the flights, and everything else that went on, I think it speaks volumes to the players, really.
It feels as though international football has been a bit of a lottery over the past week, Stephen, because there have been so many cases, and you having 7 cases, and I think it feels there's going to be a bit of a fallout from all this when the players go back to their clubs as well. Would you be confident that international football can and should continue next month as well with the 3 matches, that with cases rising, with so much of an element of chance as to who gets it, who doesn't get it at the moment, that you don't know what players you're going to have before every match, it feels, at the moment? Would they be better off almost putting the international calendar on hold until next year and they have a better grasp on the situation?
Yeah, well, obviously I'm in the middle of just the camp, and I think it is an interesting question. I think I'm sure everything will be reviewed, and I'd have to think about the answer to give you a direct answer. I think it's one that I'd have to consider, think about, and ideally, you want life not to be interrupted. You want to be able to. Sport is very important. Football is the most participated sport in the country. The Irish national team is a very, very important part of Irish sport and life. And I think we don't want we don't want that to be diminished. We don't want it not to happen. But there are serious challenges. I'm sure there's a lot of anxiety. I'm sure with a lot of the clubs as well. And that will be, I'm sure that's something for everyone to consider.
Okay, Gavin Cooney, 42.
Hey Stephen, I'm sure your luck will turn at some point soon. Just related to the losing to the 4 lads as close contacts, we understand that happened on the flight. Could anything different have been done in that situation, or can it be done differently in the future to avoid it happening again, or is it just an occupational hazard of playing and travelling in a time of COVID?
I'm sure there's lots of things we can learn. It's all new territory really for everyone, and it is new territory. It's never existed. It's a new disease, and I think it's we're all learning, and I think it's something that we all have to consider and sit down and analyse at the end of the camp, and we can make decisions based on it.
Would you be making any changes or decisions in terms of the flight and the number of people travelling to Finland?
We don't bring a high number of people. I think You know, so it's something that we have to look at. We're going to have a meeting after this. You know, we have to look at everything, and so it's something that we have to consider.
And sorry, my last question is the obvious place for call-ups now is probably among the under-21 squad. You mentioned that the players have to be in time to do COVID tests. I assume that's tomorrow. Like, is it possible to get some of those guys in from Italy in time, or will you have to look elsewhere?
We lost 5, of course, and obviously we've lost James now as well, James McLean. So, yeah, we'll I think it's been sorted out in the next couple of hours, and we should be able to, once I find out the details exactly how things went. Bearing in mind that we left early this morning from the hotel. Hopefully, I should have more news in the next couple of hours on that.